Hi, it's Friday the 13th. I just want to say happy International Sleep Day. What I'm going to talk about is sleep. So how can you achieve this thing? It's one of our needs. We know that. Physiologically, it's necessary for us. And out of all our needs, it's probably gives you the biggest bang for buck. Out of all the things that you can do, it's a really powerful, it's a really powerful subject to look to for change, for change in the way that you think, your attitude, the way that you feel physiologically, and so on. So I just wanted to ask you, are you getting enough sleep? And what, in fact, is enough sleep for you? There's lots of research out there about how much sleep you actually need. But I think that as individuals, not only do we have our own requirements for sleep, but we also have different requirements according to what's going on for us. So some people have more need for sleep when they're stressed or when they're under pressure of some sort. And then, of course, sometimes you don't get it when you actually need it. And other people have, and we might have less need for sleep when we're on holiday. And that's actually when we get it. So we have all sorts of things going on for us. If we're healthy and well, quite often we don't need quite so much sleep. You know, perhaps for you, that if you're feeling a bit rough, you might spend a day in bed, for instance, if you're lucky enough to have the chance to do that. So are you getting enough sleep, and what does it mean? So what are the symptoms of not having enough sleep? Well, there are things like, it affects every aspect of us, doesn't it? It affects our body and our mind. So do you feel tired? That's an obvious one, right? And sluggish, you don't have much energy. Are you feeling unmotivated? Sometimes that's because you're not getting enough sleep. Do you have a foggy mind? So concentration is affected. The way that our brains work is also affected. So, it might be that you don't have so much, your memory isn't working, even your processing isn't working so well. Problem solving is often down, as one of those things that we're not so good at. Analytical thinking. So it's almost like the effort is put into our bodies to maintain that physicality, but our brains are just losing out. So decision making, memory, so I said that. Sometimes we're just late as well. Like, are you late for work, for lectures, for school, wherever it is you're going, because you're finding it really hard to get motivated, to get out of bed, because you had a rubbish night's sleep, or because you didn't prioritize sleep in your day for your nighttime routine, whatever. So one of the other things that it affects is eating habits, which is quite interesting. But the eating habits, research is showing us that we decide or we desire food that we wouldn't normally choose, that isn't normally considered super healthy when we're really tired. So we snack and we eat the wrong food. I mean, I don't particularly like saying right and wrong, but you know what it is for you. And it'll be out of character if you're tired. However, what happens if you're chronically tired is that you'll chronically be doing these things. You'll chronically find it difficult to maintain your health and motivation, your intelligence, in essence. And eventually find things like, you might discover that if you're at school, that you're getting not such good grades. At work, you don't feel like you're as fruitful or as productive as you normally would be. And you could be suffering from illnesses, and usually illnesses from tiredness, because it reduces your immune system. Might be things like coughs and colds regularly. It might be that you're always feeling a bit under par. And this could just be due, I say just because for some people it's a huge deal, but this might be due to you not having enough sleep. So a few suggestions. What do you need? Well, I've got a few suggestions. One is work out how much sleep you need, because that's a big one. You know, one of the ways you could do this is just give yourself a few days where you have no alarm set, and you're able to just go to bed and wake up whenever your body desires. And then you work out how many hours sleep makes it feel as though you've had enough, and work that out over a few days. Because at first it might be that you're making up for sleep that you've lost, but after a couple of days your body's starting to get back into this, oh, I've had enough, and this is how much I need. If you can do that, that's great. So you work out how much sleep you need, and then when you've worked out how much sleep you need, then you just do some simple maths. So what time do you need to wake up in the morning, and work back. So if you need to get up at 7 and you need 8 hours sleep, then 11 o'clock is the time that you go to bed. It's simple, but it's one of those things that quite often we just don't even think about. So try that, try that as a start, and then stick to it. Create a routine around it if you like. I must be in bed by this time, this time, this time. Once you have that routine going and it becomes habitual, then it's easy, right? We all know that habits are great for us to just rely on. However, a word of caution, try and be aware if you slip out for a day or two, because it's also like it takes a little while to build a habit, but it also can be broken. So it's something to be aware of. Now, routine, once you've got that routine, it will be a lot easier. Exercise is also essential for us. We need to move. We need to get tired, don't we, in order to get to sleep. We have I think of it as two types of tiredness. One is mental tiredness and the other is physical tiredness. Both together is great if you have done enough during the day. So it feels like your body has moved around, and it will naturally want to go to sleep at night. So think about that. Now, there's a slight caution here in that it's not a good idea to exercise for closer to bedtime than say 2 or 3 hours. And there are some timings like this that are important. So in the daytime, do some exercise, and then you'll have it done. I mean, you can do it in the evening too, but just know a couple of hours will be required for your body to sort of go back into that parasympathetic, which is the calm, rest and digest state. So allow that to happen, because we know that exercise raises us up, it raises our energy, it raises our excitement level, if you like, because it's stimulating. The other thing is social media. Now, if this is for teenagers on the FUNKHEAD program, and actually, no, that's not true, because it is for teenagers. However, adults have this issue as well. How many people look at their Facebook and would be better off reading a book so that they can go to sleep? Something like that. So I guess many of us do that from time to time. If you do it habitually, it might be a good idea to think about, go back to those timings. But there is something that's important that I'll talk about in just a second. And giving yourself a social media period of time during the day is great, because the other thing about social media is it's stimulating, and you're on a computer or some sort of technology on your phone. And that leads me into the next one, light. So light is really important. We have evolved to be really attuned to the colour of the light that comes in. Now, we live our days, and we're, from day to day, we know when it's dawn, it gets light, we go into the afternoon and the evening and it gets dark again. And generally that's what we notice, light and dark. But actually there is a spectrum, as we know, we've seen rainbows. There's a spectrum of light that comes in. And in the morning, the light is in the blue end of the spectrum. And that's a wake-up call. That's literally a wake-up call. It goes into your brain and it says, it's time to wake up now. The light is blue. And in the evening, and as the afternoon wears on into the evening, it becomes pink. And I didn't even know that this was real. Now, that's not really what I mean, but I hadn't seen it. I think that's what I mean. I hadn't actually seen it until it was really snowy a couple of years ago. And I could see on the snowy hillside opposite me, it was coral pink in the afternoons and into the evenings. And I was wowed by that. I went, wow, that really is the colour of the light. And that was what colour it was. I mean, I didn't actually see the blue in the morning, but perhaps bluey white, maybe I did, but I didn't notice it quite as much as this pink colour that was on this amazing snowy hillside in front of me. I mean, some of you may have seen this before. It may be totally normal for you. You may have seen it lots, but it was a real wake-up call for me. So we get blue in the morning, and as the day goes on, it gets pinker. Now, technology is created to give you the brightest light, and the brightest light is blue. We know that because it's in the morning and it's like, woo, wake up. Here's what I'm trying to say to you. So if that's what's happening, and if you're looking at technology in its normal light, in the evening, you'll be sending the wrong light to your brain. Now, there is a process that starts in the morning and it goes all the way through the day of stimulating the release of a chemical. We work on chemicals. We're biochemical creatures. And so this chemical, which is called melatonin, is released in the brain throughout the day in greater amounts according to what the light is. It's straight from our brain and then it floods through to say it's time to sleep. So the largest concentration reaches us in the evening or is released in the evening to switch on that sleep mode. So if you can, and if you are looking at your computer or your phone, turn on the option of, I have something for my Mac, which is called Flux, f.lux, and that turns on a light filter, I guess. It changes the light in the afternoon and the evening. And that's a really good idea. There are other ones out there, but investigate that. Do that for yourself, because that will allow you to really see what's going, that will allow your brain to really tune into that biochemical release that you need. So the other thing is, moving on to the next one, is your bed comfortable? I know it's duh, but if your bed isn't comfortable, the chances are you're not going to sleep quite as well. If your bed is comfortable, you'll sleep better. So that's another idea, that if you just have a look at that, have a think about that. And finally, stimulants. Are you drinking coffee past about, this is an individual thing. For me, I can have one in the morning up to maybe noon. I can't sleep after that. If I have a coffee after about noon, I can't sleep in the evening. So it's an individual response. It's to do with what we're used to, our tolerance of caffeine, our natural tolerance of caffeine, and what we have created as an unnatural tolerance of caffeine. So if you drink a lot of coffee, it's likely that you're going to be more used to it. You might metabolize it faster. It's going to be something that isn't such a big deal for you, but I don't drink very much caffeine, so it does make a difference to me. So think about when you're taking that stimulant, when is that going to keep you awake at night? So just think about these things. So I've given you 7 things to think about. You know, work out your bedtime, create a routine, exercise, social media, light, is your bed comfortable, and stimulants. So think about these things if you are struggling with sleep on International Sleep Day. I hope you've enjoyed the live, for those of you who've seen it, and bye-bye, blessings, sleep well.